Good evening, everybody. This is Jeff Brown in Beijing for another radio Sinolan program. I am very, very pleased to announce that I have been commissioned by a popular website called the Saker, and I'll put that on the as a link, which specializes in news about Russia. And the editor of the Saker and I agreed that I will start doing a monthly column on his website, and so I'm going to read the first one and put it put it on SoundCloud. So welcome to the new Moscow Beijing Express on the Saker, which will be reporting periodically on Russian Chinese news perspectives. If you have not already done so, it is highly recommended to read the following interview between the Saker and Jeff J. Brown. It's a great primer on Sino-Russian relations, past, present, and future. And on the Saker website, which I'll post, it is entitled Interview with Jeff J. Brown. It is always interesting to see the triangular interpretation of current events between the West, China, and Russia. An excellent recent case to consider is Russia's new law passed to severely increase the oversight of foreign NGOs inside Russia, NGO standing for supposedly non-governmental organizations, as well as the monitoring of these NGOs' local partners. This new law was passed in the Duma, which is Russia's legislative body, and sent to President Vladimir Putin for his imprimatur. Mr. Putin wasted no time in signing it into law on May 23, 2015. The Western corporate media was, as expected, apoplectic, disregarding the more rabid mainstream media megaphones on America's payroll. Take a few minutes to read this article by The Guardian, a supposedly liberal, anti-establishment news organ, and it is titled Russia Bans Undesirable International Organizations 2016 Elections. You can search it on their website. Former CIA Director William Casey stated the obvious when he said, quote, "The CIA owns everyone of any significance in the major media." End of quote. A thoughtful analysis of this article clearly demonstrates that the CIA/MI6 editorial and journalistic puppeteers at The Guardian are large and in charge. This is a chilling example of deft censorship and PSYOPs propaganda behind the Great Western Firewall. Its Orwellian language is parsed to perfection. For newspeak, it approaches the level of art. No wonder 99% of Westerners are oblivious, brainwashed. Two observations are salient. The whole meaning of the article craftily puts all the blame on the Russians, demonizes President Putin, while trying to come across as, quote, objective and balanced. The other obvious Western corpse hidden behind the Great Western Firewall is the words color revolution. Obviously, the Guardian's editors and journalists have been given their marching orders by their CIA MI6 masters. Never associate Western NGOs with color revolutions. Verboten. Not so in Sinolan, which is what I call China. As far back as 2009, Baba Beijing, my wry appellation for China's leadership, Baba Beijing published its Notice on Issues Related to the Administration of Foreign Currency Contributions to Mainland Entities. It was specifically designed to limit and track the money flowing from outside China to foreign and domestic NGOs. Nor was China the first. Baba Beijing was undoubtedly inspired by Eritrea's African Cuba, Eritrea, which is known as Africa's Cuba, which has been all over Western NGOs like stink on manure since the early 1990s. Recently, Eritrea finally just kicked them all out. There, take that, you regime-changing miscreants. And Eritrea was undoubtedly inspired by Cuba and other go-it-alone countries like North Korea, which eschew Western NGOs and vice versa. And the inspirational motherlode? They all surely go back to communist USSR and China, the twin towers of anti-Western empire. In the interim, India, taking its cue from China, passed in its 2010 Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, which was not coincidentally similar to China's law. At this point, a virtuous vortex of anti-Western NGO-itis began to manifest itself. Russia knows a good thing when it sees it, so the Siberian giant signed a law in November 2012 that in retrospect was too weak. It was ironically based on America's Anti-Communist Foreign Agents Registration Act. But that was before a little thing called fascist genocide got perpetrated on its southwestern flank in the Ukraine. Time to get ugly. So now in 2015, it's Russia's turn to stir the vortex even faster. Hence its very draconian nanometer wiggle room for NGOs law passed last month. So then what happened? China liked what it sees in Russia, doesn't like what it sees in Venezuela, the Ukraine, and the U.S. just appointing Richard Miles, Serbia's and Georgia's color revolution mastermind, as head of mission in Kyrgyzstan. This small but incredibly strategic Muslim country is sandwiched between China and Kazakhstan, a neighboring brother in anti-empire arms. So before Putin's signature could even dry, China's National People's Congress, the NPC, proposed a law that, lo and behold, is almost identical to the Duma's. I think Russia and China probably share a notebook now in their respective political libraries called Killing Western Color Revolutions in Their NGO Cradles. China's proposed law is up for public comments, and the G7 goons will surely lodge complaints. But given just how corrupting and dangerous the West's whole NGO racket is for any country and its people who elect not to be America's prostitutes, I will be surprised if this Chinese bill does not pass with at most minor modifications. Also, a couple of days after this law was proposed, the NPC rolled out its new national security bill. The fact that these two bills were submitted almost simultaneously is undoubtedly not an accident. The Chinese are masters of subtle symbolism, undoubtedly inspired by their unique ideographic language. And the message here is Confucian clear. Western NGOs are antithetical to China's national security interests. Since Langley and Vauxhall Cross are as obtuse as 179-degree angles, would somebody please point this out on their Facebook accounts? Thank you, and tell them 44 days and the Saker sent you. Back to the difference between the differences between the Great Western Firewall's Orwellian manipulation of vocabulary compared to Russia and China. This article in the Chinese media is fairly typical. Its title says it all. Russia promulgates an undesirable organizations law to defend against color revolutions. Going off into Never Never Land. First, Dorothy, Toto's mysterious sudden death. Sorry to break it the news, but it was not due to natural causes. Secondly, Miss Ruby Slippers, Western NGOs and color revolutions go together like Molotov cocktails and rooftop snipers. And if you live in Odessa, Ukraine, the fascists just stand there for the whole world to watch in broad daylight as they gun down and club innocents to death. Russian leaders and representatives routinely get full treatment in the Chinese media. Here is an article listing all the meetings ever had between Xi and Putin, just in case you were counting. I know I was. The title says, Xi Jinping arriving in Russia to meet Putin. During the last 2 years, they have met 11 times. Priceless. Here is a video of President Putin's comments about America's extrajudicial arrest of the FIFA officials, and it includes images from Moscow towards the end. Sorry, in China there are ads too. The title says, America is trying to take the 2018 World Cup away from Russia. No nuanced newspeak there. Obama is lucky to get 15 seconds on CNN. Putin gets a full 2 minutes on CNTV, China National TV. This was watched by untold millions on the evening news and will stay on the Chinese internet for posterity. Putin is on Chinese TV frequently. Same dance, second verse. There are 1 billion Chinese with mobile phones, and they are hardcore social media junkies. What did my neighbors do before 3G? Photos like this one with only a byline get passed around at the speed of light on WeChat, Sina Weibo, Tencent Weibo, Qzone, Pengyo, QQ, Douban, Zhenzhen, Caixin, and literally tens of other platforms that Westerners have never even heard of. Pictures really can convey 1,000 words, and images like this get transmitted hundreds of millions of times a day all across China. This picture's title says, Russian President meets Yang Jiechi. It sure looks to me like they have plenty to talk about. A search for Russia in Chinese on Baidu, which is China's behemoth answer to Google, generates up to 100 million hits. Please note that the number of hits does fluctuate on Baidu depending on the algorithm of the moment and from where you are searching. Putin in Chinese racks up 3,300,000 to 24,100,000 hits. Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, gets anywhere from 334,000 to 610,000 references. Not bad for a foreign minister. And Medvedev, the prime minister of Russia, whose portfolio has been less concerned with Sino-Russian relations, still gets 262,000 hits. Even Dmitry Peskov, Putin's press spokesperson, bags an impressive 53,600 to 420,000 hits. Trust me, Saker and 44 Days fans, Baba Beijing has Russia's back and makes sure its citizens know all about it. Not reading a word of the Cyrillic alphabet, I trust this is all reciprocal in Russia. Thank you, everybody, and fans of Radio Sinolan, and have a great evening.